Hello, everyone. Welcome here. Today, we are going to start on the last chapter of the DLC for Opus Magnum. Invariant metal. Okay. Okay, we got a core of iron with some copper attached to the outside. And we have 2 gold atoms to work with. Alright. Work correctly when we split gold. We get 2 iron, okay. Okay. We can recombine those iron? Okay, we don't have the thing to recombine iron. That's probably good, actually. Yeah. Oh, okay, I think I know how to do this. We take a glyph of rejection. And this, we can remove 2 quicksilver to get copper. So we remove 2 quicksilver, and then we can take those 2 quicksilver and we can add them back to the iron to get copper. And then I got our 3 copper. And then we just make 2 more iron, and we're good. Okay. How many iron do we need out of this total? Okay, because we could do something like this. Grab that iron, hold it here, strip 2 atoms off of it. And then we have copper we gotta do something with. Okay, that's not getting us anywhere. We're not gonna be able to weld this thing all in one go, I doubt. So let me think for a second. If I make 2 iron atoms, we're going to have our 3 copper atoms right here. Or we can make a machine and make all 3 copper atoms. Then we can just take this one. Yep. We can use this gold atom to make the 4 iron we need for the core. We can form the core, and then we can weld the coppers onto the core. Okay. The problem with this is that the iron, they're all going to be coming in different places. Unless I use a triple arm. We start here, we grab this one, We move it to there. We drop it. It'll be a little faster. Okay, would it be any faster to use a non-triple arm? Yes, it would. Because we could start here, we could grab both, and then drop them off as we go. And then we would use a single arm to grab that first one, shift it to here, and then we would do our welding here by rotating it. Okay, let's start by forming the core. So, arm 3, you should be arm 1. You grab, you rotate, you reset. Arm 2. No, arm 3. You should be arm 2. You grab, you rotate, and then you hold. And arm 3, you grab after it's safely out of the way. So you should be grabbing this one. And then you rotate twice. And then we need to repeat arm 1's job, which we can do right there. So let's just run this to see how the beginning of it works. Okay, those two collide, which means I think I can do this. No, I can't. I can do it there though. Yeah. So this could actually go back one tile, I believe. Yep. All right. And then arm 3, you need to release. And then arm 2, you need to rotate twice. Okay, while that's going on, arm 3, you need to grab. And then you need to advance one. And then you need to release. And then you need to grab. You need to advance one. And then we did another rotate twice command in there. Oops, that's the wrong way. Let's see if these conflict. Indeed they don't. Perfect. Okay. And then we need to release again. And then arm 2. We can swing one more time. And let's put an extender out here so I don't have to worry about it repeating just yet. Okay, and then we have our core, we just need to weld our copper in. So meanwhile, over here we should have been assembling our copper and presenting it on a multi-arm. So we can just zip, 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 weld it right on. Okay, and then we just present our coppers right there. Probably with a multi-arm like this. And then we drop them off over there. And we make 2 a double arm. And then we could probably make this more efficient by programming this to be like moving these so they're directly opposite, or using a triple arm instead of a double arm. Yeah, because we could program it so that it runs this cycle and then this cycle in parallel, and then we drop off over here. Let's start with that. Okay. Now, we need to start programming this. And it's very important that we do this in a way I think we'll be able to swing it through there. Of course, now we have the little problem of how do we get the gold from over here. Okay. It's not too bad. And we take the glyph of projection here. I think this will work. It's gonna be a bit weird. But I think it'll work. The real problem will be, can I swing these through without smacking into everything? I think so. No. The real problem is going to be that we have to get this off first. And we can't do that without leaving a blank spot. Okay. That part'll work. Okay, that definitely will not work. Because remember, we're grabbing iron from up here. Which technically I would rather grab iron from here. And that won't work because I have to swing it right across that. That's really unfortunate placement. I could use a piston arm here. That would save me a lot of trouble. Or could use a little track arm there. That would also save me a lot of trouble. Okay. So that greatly increases efficiency here. But then we still have the problem of how to get the quicksilver from here to here without smashing into anything important. I could make this arm larger, but then I wouldn't be able to cover both parts of that, so no. Because the whole point of this arm being the way it is that I can grab both of them at once and then just swing them into position. Yeah, okay. Hello, Dread. Well, come here. So we can't put an arm right here because that'll be swung right over top of arm 6 as it goes by. Well, I could if we swung this down. Would that make sense to do? Maybe. Because we would swing each one in as that turned. We could turn this either way, it wouldn't matter. Well, no, we already have the turning encoded to go that way. I think it would work. Okay, let's start programming. So, arm 4. You will grab. You will advance. You'll swing down and you'll reset. Timing to be determined later. Arm 7. You will grab. You will swing down. You'll reset. Timing to be determined later. Probably arm 7 will go before arm 4. Or arm 5, I mean. Damn it. Arm 7. Arm 7, you should be arm 5, because you're the next in sequence. Actually, you should be arm 4. Okay, arm 5, you will run then. Hello, survey. Not everything is about pizza, you know. Okay. Arm 6. When arm 5 arrives with its payload, you will grab both of the irons that appear. You'll rotate down. You'll release and you'll repeat. There's going to be some timing play with that. Arm 7's got to be sequenced together with Arm 6. Arm 9. Okay. Arm H. When Arm 4 arrives with its payload, you are going to grab it and just hold. And then at some later point, you will swing down and release. And at the same exact moment, Arm 7 will grab. Actually reset. There we go. And at the same moment, Arm 7 will grab and continue on its way. Actually, Arm 7 cannot grab from there because it will have to sweep over Arm 9 no matter which way it turns with this plan. That means Arm 9's got to go. Specifically, it's got to go elsewhere. We can put it there. Except then Arm 6 sweeps across Arm 9. Which is a problem. Okay, we can do this still. And then we have to rotate Arm 7 that way. Alright, so Arm 7. Okay, wait. Arm H. When the gold reaches position at Arm H, so right here, Arm 9 can grab a Quicksilver, rotate down, reset, and then repeat. Arm 8, before it finishes repeating, should grab and move. Okay, let's see how much of this is going to immediately explode. Okay, well for starters, Arm 6 is grabbing too early. And Arm 9 is conflicting with Arm 6. Arm 9 needs to move later. Okay, Arm 5 has got to move before Arm 4. Because Arm 5 has to get there sooner. And then Arm 6, you can move a little earlier. And that means Arm 9 can also move. I'm going to move Arm 9 up to be Arm 7. So I can sequence it better. Grab, rotate. Okay. Okay, actually, it probably would make sense for me to move Arm 6 just a little bit later, or move Arm 7 just a little bit earlier. Okay, I don't think there's an easy way around this problem. because the new atom appears instantly. The easiest solution would be rotate the arm 6 the other way, but then we would need to have this block over here, and getting a gold atom all the way over to here would be non-trivial, to say the least. Okay. We can do some shenanigans with arm 9 that'll make this work a little better. So arm 4, the second you drop that off, arm 9 should grab it. And then grab it and swing it away. And then later we swing it back and then swing it back again. That way we get the, okay. See, we get it out of the way so it doesn't pull another atom, and that way it's not in the way. And then we move it back into place. And then move it down. And at this point, arm 8 should grab. And rotate twice. Matter of fact, I probably should do that a little earlier. Nope. It's got to do a little bit later. Okay, no. Arm 6 has got to be... The second movement of arm 6 has to be moved. The second movement of arm 7 has got to be moved. And the second movement of arm 9 needs to be moved. And arm 8 is going the wrong direction. And arm 9 actually has to move a little earlier. Okay. Arm 9. Okay, wait. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. Arm 8. You need to grab here and move there. And unfortunately that conflicts with that, but arm 7 can move that out of the way earlier. So arm 7, you gotta get that bullshit out of the way right there. Okay. Arm 8, you need to move a little bit later. Give arm 7 some time to get out of the way. No, it can't move a little earlier. What happens if I move it there? Yeah, they still collide, okay. And we definitely can't swing it the other way. Unless... We absolutely could swing it the other way if it wasn't for that damn gold atom. Okay. Okay. That's looking pretty good already. Boom, we welded the first one. Now, we have a bit of a problem, most likely here, in that arm 8 is assuredly not timed right to match the movements of arm 2, which it needs to be. So, let me examine how this all moves again. Wait, what is arm 2 doing? Oh. We need to remove one of these swings from arm 2. So let's remove that one. Why the hell are you two colliding? Oh, it's too tight of timing up there. Because arm 2 was made shorter, and so the interval sped up a lot. Okay. Now, we need to insert a lot of delay to make these two pieces mesh together. So, where all does the delay need to go? We have a lot of relatively short arm sequences. Arm 2 is probably going to need more delay between its various bits. And arm 8 is going to need a lot of sequencing as well. So we need to arrange it so that arm 2 does its little spins and then arm 8 delivers. Basically, our timing is way too tight on everything. Which on one hand is good. It means we have lots of room to work with to get nice tight movement. On the other hand, Okay. So let's look at arm 2's movement again. It moves. Boom. Okay. I really don't like this design. It functions, but man is it messy. And the handoff from 6 to 8. And the way it loads the copper here off of 9. It's just really not great. Okay, anyway. Let's split these up a little bit. And then let's run this and see how far we have to move things away. Yeah, here's the other problem. Okay, let's run this again. When does that first copper atom get there? Now. Okay. Okay, we can move these at least 6 forward. Could probably still go forward one more. Okay, 8, you need to rotate a little more and earlier. Six is trying to grab at the same time as 8's trying to rotate. Okay, the whole problem here is not getting the copper atoms out of the way. 8 is doing too much. If we moved this whole mess up a few, and then we put a magazine right there. Okay, so 8, we don't want you to drop right there. Well, yeah, we do actually. Grab. Rotate. Release. Grab. Rotate. Release. Repeat. Let's see how well this works. We're going to have to start the other mess running a little sooner. Also, we can't have this arm grabbing here, which means this needs to be one tile farther away, which means this whole mess needs to be over there. Okay. We're kind of getting out of control on area now, but that's fine. Let's move them a little earlier. Okay, this has to be moved all the way to the beginning, actually. Yeah, we might actually have to delay the bottom part a little bit. Okay, what? Did I accidentally not move something? Oh, whoops. Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. Okay, that works. I must not have moved arm 4. Yeah, that's the problem. Okay. So arm 10 needs to rotate the other way for initial loading. And that's going to interfere with arm 8. Okay. That means that these guys need to actually move to there. And arm 10 does not need to move that way, it needs to move this way. Okay. Now, we need to insert another bit of this sequence. Okay, let's see what happens here. Yeah, no. Okay. These do need the 1 tick of delay between them. And the problem here is that this is going to end up being out of place. Okay. Okay, so this one grabs it and moves it out of the way before. So arm 8 needs to be delayed a little bit somehow. So that arm 10 can grab that and move down a little sooner. Well, actually no. What really needs to happen is we need to feed these on over here. But arm 6 can't interfere with arm 10, so we can't do it like that. It'd be best if we could do it like this, if these somehow didn't conflict right there. We could do some idiocy right here with an extra arm. That would insert even more delay though. So that's a bad idea. Well, actually, no, there's an easy solution to this problem, I think. Okay. That almost gets us there. Now, we need to move arm 2. Like 4 ticks later. So 2, 3, and 4 need to be moved to later. Where's arm 1? Oh, this is arm 1. I thought that was 4 for some reason. All right, now the gold arrives at the same time as the iron. I think we need to speed this up some. Which we totally can do. But it was slowed down initially because it was too fast. Is arm 10 not letting go or something? Or is it trying to grab at exactly the wrong moment? It is trying to grab at exactly the wrong moment. Okay. What if we give it one more tick of delay? What if we give it one more tick of delay? Why are these arriving at exactly the same moment, no matter how much delay we add to the end? Okay, well that answer is fairly obvious. It's because they are the same length. So we need to offset their starts. Okay, so they arrive at exactly the right moment together here. If I actually put the delay onto the end of arm 10, I think that might change a few things. No, it wouldn't. It's exactly identical. Okay. Well, that's annoying. Yeah, why would that change anything? All it does is make all the instructions longer by one. Do I move arm 10 earlier or later? I think I move it later. And that doesn't work. Let's try that again. Okay, arm 8 needs to be, or arm 10 I mean, needs to be moved a tick later. Again. And I think we need to extend the total period length by 1, yep. So let's just go ahead and put this on the end of arm 8, because that's the actual one that needs to be made longer. That's the problem child, is arm 8. Okay. Arm 10 and arm 2. Arm 2 needs to rotate a little bit more slowly. Alright, we have a tiny problem here. Arm 10 really needs to be short arms. that will not work. Not with the current setup. We could put a welder in like that. And like that. Let's see how this works. Change in length of arm 10 should not affect anything speed-wise. It does, however, affect the fact that arm 8 now collides with arm 10. Damn it. Arm 10 needs to rotate the opposite direction. And thankfully, due to the exact size of arm 10, it should not matter. Except in so much as now they're grabbing on each other. What is arm 2 trying to do? It's trying to swing. And arm 10... is also trying to swing. Okay. We need to add a little bit more delay there. Also, arm 2 will not be able to swing that direction now because arm 10 is very firmly in the way. Damn it. Yeah, there's no way that's gonna be able to swing past arm 10. That's why arm 10 need to be longer. If I'm swinging this direction, can I make arm 10 long still and have it not interfere? We still have the problem that arm 10 is going to collide horribly. No, okay. That problem's a bit too fundamental. How tight is the timing on arm 10? Not really that tight. I think we're just going to have to add an arm to shift from 8 to 10. Okay, then we have the swing problem, but that's fine. We can fix that very easily. We move that up to there, we move this to here, we make arm 10 longer, and boom, there we go. And did this just magically fix some of our other issues as well? No, that did not fix any of our problems. Because we can't have arm 10 longer, I forgot. That creates problems with colliding. But arm 10 needs to be longer so 2 can swing out of the way. This is actually obnoxious. Wait a second. This isn't going to work anyway. What am I thinking? Because if you look at this, okay, we have that assembled, sure. However, while it's rotating it over here, it's rotating this over here, not here. We're a whole position off. So these need to be assembling here. And so arm 2 needs to swing twice during its life cycle. And it also needs to release here, don't forget. It's still moving one tick too early. Okay. Then it releases. Then for the next cycle it picks up and moves to there. Alright. Wait a second. I think that's all it's needed. And then we need to deliver the copper atoms right here. I don't think we need arm 11 anymore. Let's see how badly this works. Oh, this is absolutely going to collide when it swings this up. We absolutely do need arm 11. And I don't think this is going to work. Well, I know for a fact this isn't going to work either. Okay, wait. I moved some of this and not all of it. Damn it. Okay. I think that'll work. It might still collide when it swings the piece in, but I don't think it will. Oh, whoops. Wait. That should work. What the hell? Some of the stuff got moved and other parts didn't get moved again. Damn it. Where's this actually go? Somehow those two to get moved. Okay. Yeah, okay. Arm 10 is very much in the way. Is there any way I can fix that without making Arm 10 longer? Because Arm 10 cannot be made longer. I could move it to here. But then we're going to have the problem of trying to grab this whenever Arm 10 rotates, which we cannot have. This is just really badly designed all around. Well, there is one thing we can do. When Arm 2 grabs and swings, we could do an extra rotate maybe. And that'll change the exact rules of welding. We should probably swing and then rotate. Okay, but that's going to interfere too much with other stuff. Okay, so we got to rotate before the swing, which means as soon as we pick up, we need to rotate on Arm 2. Can I pick up any sooner on Arm 2? Let me look at this and see what happens when it starts. No, Arm 2 picks up at the first plausible moment. Okay. So we need to reverse these two, but that means we need to delay Arm 3 by a tick. And if I delay Arm 3 by a tick, then the rest of Arm 2 needs to be delayed by a tick. But I don't think that'll be that big of an issue. Okay, what is arm 1 doing? You need to be delayed by a tick as well, I think. Yeah. And that still doesn't save us. Okay, arm 10, you need to rotate a tick later, actually. Yeah, that should be easy enough to do. We just put an extra tick of delay on arm 10. Okay, actually, we put an entire tick of delay on everything except 1, 2, and 3, which means we just move 1, 2, and 3 one tick forward. And arm 2 moves away one tick too soon. Which means we need to put an extra tick of delay into the system, I think. What? Okay, arm 2 swings away too early. So if I move this to there, that's going to slow everything up. Which means all of this stuff needs to go ahead a few ticks. And I think we're going to run right back into exactly the same problem again, just shifted in time. Not quite, but similar. It's like this is all so beautifully synced, except that last bit, where it's like a tick or two off. And then see, like this would be synced up perfectly as well. So what we need to do is arm 10 needs to... Okay, the end of arm 2 needs to be a bit later. The problem is if I make the end of arm 2 a bit later, that screws up the timing on literally everything else. And that throws off all the other lengths and timings, and so everything is incorrect. If I just go ahead and add 2 ticks to that, what exactly happens? So then arm 10 arrives too early. So arm 10 needs to arrive more slowly. So if I go down here, and I grab all of this bullshit and move it 2 ticks down, I think we're right back in the same problem, because quite literally then 2 will leave before arm 10 is done, and like it'll work at the start, but Yep, see right there. Unless... Yeah. It's all beautifully synced except that one little bit. And I'm not sure how to fix it. Like that arrives at exactly the right time for the first one. So is there any way I could... Let me watch this for a second. Okay, the problem is... the beginning of this sequence actually happens at the end of the previous sequence. How can I set this up? We're making the atoms we need for this a whole sequence ahead, a whole step ahead, which is fine. This shouldn't be this hard. The main problem is that this section has too many interlocking steps, and that makes it too hard to adjust. So I can't really adjust the timing, at least not easily. And that means that it's a bit of a problem. Okay, but the real problem is why is arm 10 not delivering a little earlier? I think this delay here is the problem. If I was to pull that back and pull this back, and then pull this back, it might work. Okay, the problem is Arm 10 arrives too early. Which we could improve by moving these guys back a tick. And one more. Okay. Now Arm 2 needs to have its period lengthened. And that's probably going to throw everything off again. Okay, Arm 2 needs to move one tick earlier. And the only way to get that is to move literally everything that's not Arm 2 one tick back. Or, you know, Arm 1, 2, and 3. And this may work. I'm not going to hold my breath. No, because, okay, Arm 2 needs a longer period again. But I wonder if I can just move those like that, if that'll make the difference. No. Oh. Okay. And again. How is it so wildly off? I see. Between the first and second rotation, the delay is different than the rest of them. And I think that's due to okay, here we arrived. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where it moved last time, was at 4 here. Okay. So basically we skipped a whole... So it arrives. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, where is it in ARM 10? ARM 10 is way out here just doing nothing. Because of course it is. So I think what we need to do is all this bullshit we did to change the timings of ARM 2 is just straight up wrong. And what we really need to do is we need to insert another spin out here at the end of ARM 10. Okay, what? What if we put another spin there at the end and move this whole mess one whole block forward? Okay, it shouldn't affect anything else. Except obviously that ARM 2 is not moving synced up with ARM 10 correctly. This whole design is wildly horrible. This part's fine. There's not a whole lot I can do to improve this part. This part is hideous and horrible, and the problem is that the copper is not being produced at a consistent rate. And our attempt here to get the copper to be buffered at a consistent rate, basically moving it off of ARM 8 and onto ARM 10 via ARM 11, is not working very well at all. Because ARM 8, the way it works, where it loads the first two up at basically the same time and then has to shift them out of the way and then grabs the last one, is really horrible. I think I just need to redesign this whole system so it produces more consistently. But the problem with that is that the way we have to produce these copper up here is just really not great. I could do this. Okay, we're just gonna do this the dumb way. ARM 2 is now a single arm. And what I mean by the dumb way is that we're just going to run through the whole cycle without any buffering or anything special. So we moved to there, we assemble that, we move to here, we assemble this. This is not going to quite work on its own. So we'll have an arm 10 here that does it. Okay. Let's put arm 2 back down there where it belongs. Alright, also we can remove some timing artifacts from this. We don't need to drop that, for example. There's no reason to have that start any later than it has to. Arm 8, we don't need those anymore. Okay. Now. Arm 10. When arm 2 arrives, you grab, rotate down, reset. There's no reason to do this inefficiently. It only costs a little time and more for the bigger arm. There is 2 away, a reason to do this inefficiently. Okay. Reset. Repeat. Repeat. Arm 2. Okay. And then arm 2 rotates and drops at the end. Okay, arm 8. Your programming needs to be changed to match up with arm 10. So after you do your swings there, you drop. Wait for that to swing. You grab. You swing. You release. And then you grab, you swing, you release. Oh, and arm 2, you can be trimmed to not have that anymore. Which means... Okay. That'll give us a little more clearance. Alright, we'll see if this works. It's gonna be like half as fast as what it should have been. But it should function at least. Yeah. I'm tired of that puzzle. Via Quicksilver. Another new glyph. Glyph of proliferation. Whatever. I've never been able to pronounce that word. Transmutes an atom of quicksilver into an atom of metal with the same metallicity as an existing atom. Okay. Quicksilver can be turned into any of the 6 metals. That seems a bit extreme. So we need to produce a product that's a quicksilver surrounded by all the other metals. Okay. Well, this is easy then. Matter of fact, this should be downright trivial. They're all welded radially, which is super easy to do. Okay. That's a little bit annoying, actually. I'd really like to put one right here, but X grid. And then we have the exact same problem here. This will work though. Okay. Arm 2. Grab. Or rotate. And then spin. 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 Arm 4, I want you to be Yeah. I don't like anything about how this worked out. This, I think, is much better. Okay, we can't swing over top of that arm, so we have to put it over here, which is fine. We can do that. Okay. Arm 2, grab, rotate, spin, spin, spin. Five should be enough, I think. Arm 4, you're going to be doing the good old classic shuffle atoms into position. Okay. And then arm 1, you are going to be rotating that away, I believe. I'm not worrying about the timing on any of these right now. And then arm 3, I want you to be a multi-arm as well. So you can share the exact same programming pretty much as arm 4. Even the same rotation direction. Okay. Alright, now we just need to set the timings on all this shit. Actually, arm 2, grab, rotate, spin, 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 then rotate and drop. Okay. Now, arm 1, okay, arm 3 should be arm 2. Arm 2, okay, this is arm 1. This is arm 2. This is arm 3, and then the metal selector wheel is arm 4. Alright. Now. Arm 1. Grab, rotate, hold. Arm 2. Grab after the rotation is finished. Drop into place. Arm 3. I believe has to be one whole sequence phased. And then arm 4 will rotate either as arm 2 drops or right after arm 2 drops. Probably right after, honestly. So let's test the beginning of this. Okay, now. Arm 3, when you release, arm 1 needs to rotate. And that's that. Probably one of the most trivial designs I've made in a while. I could probably make that a little faster, but not much faster. To make it faster, I would need to reduce the period of arm 1. And the only way to reduce the period of arm 1 would be could I even? If I put another arm to move it from here to the end, maybe it could be done faster. Because I could release and then swing. And that would save me a couple of ticks of length on everything. Okay, arm 5. Grab, swing, reset. This is not going to have the right rotation to drop off. Okay, it actually has to move back a tick. Maybe back 2 ticks. But that won't matter because, yeah, okay. So this should save us like a tick, maybe 2 per cycle. And I don't think it's possible to go any faster because of how dense arm 2 and 3 are. Okay, that got us a total of 10 cycles. Which, okay, not bad. If I could somehow shave 4 ticks more off arm 1, that would greatly reduce arm 2 and 3's length. The only possible way I could do that, though, would be as if arm 1 got a different quicksilver from somewhere. Well, actually, no. I can't use a 6 arm because that would interfere with arm 2 then. Unless... oh, there is a way to do this. Okay. Grab, rotate, reset. And then everything else moves like that. Except now we can do this like that, which means everything else can go there. And that saves a ton of time, actually. In theory. In practice, of course, it saves a ton of time, just not quite as much of a ton. Alright. We have to add 2 ticks of artificial delay to the end of arm 2. So that there's time for arm 6 to grab a hooks over and get out of the way. Which still saves us 2 ticks per cycle. So it's still faster. It does mean that's a whole other 10 ticks off the total. It does mean we can get rid of arm 5 now, though. Because we don't need... We have... what do I call it? We have leeway we can work with on arm 1. So arm 5 can get ditched. And that means that this rotation is now wrong again. But I think that's correct. Okay, that means arm 1 is now the long arm again. But it's not actually the long arm, because arm 2 has to be the length it is to work. Because arm 2 needs to have... There just has to be a little tiny pause in arm 2. So that arm 5 has the time to grab a quicksilver and get out of the way. I could maybe change when it does the grabbing. No. Because we need 1 tick to grab and 1 tick to move. Unless... How could I do that, though? If I could somehow overlap the beginning of this with the end of this, we could save a tick. What happens if I just make this whole thing 1 tick shorter? It works. Okay. Yeah, because I'm making it 1 tick shorter, they start out at the right timing. Okay. 119 cycles, down from 124. Which means we saved a whole 5 cycles on that. By saving 1 tick per cycle, it ran apparently 5 times. Our area our area score is abysmal. but that's because we're using lots of long 6 arms. But our speed, I wouldn't be surprised if this was the fastest you could possibly do this in. Okay. No. All right, fine. We have to produce 5 of the metals in a very compact space. Basically everything except gold. So I think the solution to this, the obvious solution to this, is to produce the metals onto a wheel. Okay. I don't have a way to convert, well, I mean, I can convert quicksilver into metal, but I don't have a way to get the metals to specify what to convert to, if that makes sense. So I think what I need to do is I need to make a machine that effectively that's not gonna work. Basically, okay, what I need to do is I need to take a gold. I take the gold and you turn it into a silver using glyph of rejection. And then I need to take the quicksilver I gained from that and turn it into a second silver. And I need to take that silver and I need to turn it into a copper. And then using the quicksilver I got from that copper, I need to turn it into another copper. And so on. So I need to take each metal, I need to downgrade it by 1, I need to duplicate it, and then I need to downgrade the duplicate, and duplicate that, and downgrade the duplicate, and duplicate that, until we reach the end. And then we'll be left with the lead that we just downgraded. This is going to be really hard to do though. And all of these need to then be dumped into individual outputs, which is going to be obscenely difficult. I hate these stupid limited space ones. Okay, grab gold, turn gold and silver, use silver as the, what do y'all call it? Okay, actually I don't think I want a round one for that. I think I want this. We grab a gold, boom, make it a silver, swing it there. Then we grab the quicksilver, we put it here. And then over here, we grab the silver and we dump it into an output. Like this. And then once we got the whole set, we dump them all. And then what do we do with the lead we're left with? Well, we can just dump the lead in here, I guess. Okay, let's start with this plan and see how it works. Arm 2 should be Arm 1. Arm 1 should be Arm 2. Arm 3. Okay, we're all set up. Arm 1. Grab. Swing. Swing. Arm 2. Grab. Swing. Release. Let's see how this starter works. Boom. We produced a silver. Okay. Now. I think I want Arm 2 to be a... Okay. That'll make it a little faster to reset. And then Arm 1, it's going to oscillate back and forth, basically. Okay, we're moving a little too quick on Arm 1, unsurprisingly. And we need to program Arm 3 as well. Okay, Arm 3. You, one tick after Arm 2 grabs. You need to do your thing. Okay, I think Arm 2 can move a little earlier, maybe? No. Okay, and Arm 3 is rotating the wrong way. Okay. That's looking pretty good, actually. Go ahead and insert the right instructions here. Okay. Now, after that last sequence, we need to rotate one more time and release on arm 1. Actually, we don't need to release, we need to reset. And then arm 4, you need to grab. You need to swing. You need to move forward twice. And you need to reset as well. And hopefully that doesn't interfere with arm 3's movements. It doesn't. Okay. Okay. We were producing extra lead, but apparently that's not actually a problem. Oh, we have a whole extra sequence here at the end that we don't need. Also, arm 2 could be tightened up a bit. I'm pretty sure. Arm 3 can't be. Well, maybe arm 3 could be, actually. Oh, it absolutely could be. And this is so much faster. Okay. I think I could speed this up even more if I used a double arm. Because then, instead of doing the reset here at the end, I could just do a drop. Oh, it can't rotate outside the area, that's right. No, I don't have space to move this. Well... no. I don't have space to move this down one or anything like that. Okay, so we can't actually go any faster than that. With this current design anyway. Okay. I'm reasonably happy with that speed. Experimental catalyst. In both of our test cases, the resulting products have been heavier than they should have been, given the reagents we used. What is this abomination? Okay. We start with 1 salt and 1 quicksilver, and we have to produce all 4 elements and all 6 metals, but we can't just weld the metals onto a center piece because that would be too easy. At least the metals are arrayed in metallic order around the outside. We could actually weld them all on, but then we'd have to break 3 of the bonds as an extra step. Which we totally could do. If we... Okay, so the order of the elements on the outside are the same as the order of the elements on this wheel. And obviously the order of the metals is the same as the order of the metals on the wheel. Backwards, I think, actually. Yeah. Anyway. So what we could do is we could weld this outer circle around a salt, and then weld a circle of salts around the outside. Okay. Or weld a circle of just weld them, convert them and weld them as we go. Or convert them as they swing past. That would work too. After welding. And then we would have to break the bonds on 3 of the welds in the middle, which we totally could do after as a final step. And that would simplify the whole process amazingly. So that's what we're going to do. Let's start by moving some of this mess around to get it clear of where we need to work with. Okay, we start by grabbing a salt. Let's put it over there. The thing is, we need to grab the salt close to where we're going to weld the elements. And we can't swing back across it again. So this is going to be annoying. Okay, let's say for a moment that we weld the metal there. And then I want to weld the elementals here. So the elements get welded on. To the outer ring. And they don't get welded on radially. They get welded on like this. I think. This can't go here. We're going to need at least a couple of stages, probably 3 stages, honestly, to on-weld stuff. And then we drop. And we move to here. And we should have a salt waiting right here for us. Which I think I could do with a track. We should have plenty of time to move this into place. Okay, so at the start, arm 1 grabs, swings twice, moves down the track, and resets. All right. Arm 2 grabs and then we get to do a little spinny thing here. Okay, arms 3, 4, and 5. Arm 3. We'll do that simple sequence. And then arm 4 will do exactly the same simple sequence. And they will repeat forever and ever, amen. Except I got those on the wrong ones. There we go. And then let's put a period extender way out there so it doesn't do anything weird. Okay, you need to be arm 3. Need to be moved 1 tile further out. Okay. No. Arm 3, you need to remain right where you're at. Arm 4 needs to be 1 tile further out. Now, arm 2. Every single time arm 4 drops, you rotate. We need to do that 5 times, I believe. Okay. Additionally, arm 5, you need to swing every single time arm 3 drops. Or maybe 1 take later. Okay, gold, silver, copper, iron, tin, arm 3, you need to run one more time. Yeah. What am I doing? Okay, there we go. And then all of these should probably run a tick later. They don't have to run a tick later, but they make me feel better about what's going on. Okay, in arm 4, you are conflicting with that. I really don't like what's happening here. Yeah, because arm 4 is grabbing this piece when it's being held by arm 2. Let's see. So the easy solution to this is to extend arm 4. That gets it neatly out of the way of everything. The problem with that is that means you have to move everything farther apart. And things are already moved about as far apart as they can get. Well, not really. Because the metal part, thankfully, doesn't interfere with anything else. That can be moved. Okay, so we formed the metal pinwheel. Now, arm 2 can swing. And now, we need to worry about this monstrosity. I'm not sure where this should start. If we look at this, lead will be straight off the end here. So we'll be welding the piece that goes in between lead and gold, I believe. Which should be that one. Let's swing it over there so I can see for sure. I might be assembling this backwards as well. Okay, yeah, we're assembling the piece that goes in between lead and gold, which is this one right here. And I believe we did indeed assemble this in reverse order that we should have. Because we're going lead, tin, whereas in this order it goes gold, silver. So we need to reverse the direction of arm 5 and we need to start on lead. It's an easy fix. Okay, let's see what the... Okay, now we're welding the piece that goes in between lead and gold, which is indeed that piece right there. And then, assuming we keep rotating in the same direction, the next piece we'll weld is the piece that goes in between lead and tin. So arm 6 will need to rotate that way. So I should have just left those instructions from arm 5 in there. Okay, but that'll go way out here somewhere. Now, arm 2. Rotate into position. Whereupon whereupon we need to not do things like the way we're going to do them. This is a problem. Kind of big problem, actually. Not sure why I didn't realize this is going to be a problem, but what we really need to do is we need to grab a salt, we need to move it across this glyph, and then we need to move it to here. So I really need the salt to be there. So this shit all needs to go ahead one tick. There. Except we can't put an arm where I wanted to put it, right here. Because then arm 1's going to want to move across that. So we need to come up with a different solution to get the salt over. Could you stop grabbing the wrong damn arm? Grab the one I already have selected. Okay, fine, whatever. This is really obnoxious. Well, I could... Boom. Swing, swing. Boom, boom. It's not like it really... It'll cost us an extra tick, but only one. Let's make sure this works. Okay, it does. Now, arm 7. Once arm 2 is rotated into place, arm 6, what is once was arm 7, grabs, rotates down, and releases. I think it'll be slightly more efficient to do it that way. Which means we could use a triple arm here instead. Theoretically, we could probably do it a little faster if we grabbed, rotated, release, grab, rotate, release. No, maybe not. No, this will be faster. With a triple arm even. Okay, and then 2, you, upon releasing, you rotate. And similarly, upon releasing, we swing arm 6. Arm 7, I mean. And we go salt, fire, earth, salt, water, air. Okay. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is correct. Now, obviously we have to test this to make sure it's going to function. This design practically cries out for parallelization. But I'm going to avoid that for now. It looks correct, except the extra welds in the middle. So we swing it 3 more times and we drop it, and then we go back to the beginning. And while we swing it 3 more times, we're going to unweld it. Which conveniently we have 3 welds to undo. Okay, so here's the first one we need to undo. We need to undo the weld between the lead and the center salt. Boom. The next one we need to undo is between the lead and the center silver. And then we need to do the lead in the center iron. Or not the center iron. The center salt and between the silver and the center salt and the iron and the center salt. There we go. Okay. I think these might all be correct, but I guess we'll find out in a second. And I used welders instead of unwelders, damn it. Okay, also we can speed up arm 2 a little bit by moving those over. Boom, lead unwelded. Boom, silver unwelded. Boom, iron unwelded. And we need to rotate one last time. Okay. That looks correct. So we can start arm 6 and stuff moving a little earlier, and we can also start arm 4 and such like moving a little earlier. So let me think. So we can grab right there. Which means this whole setup can go forward like 4 ticks. To there. Yeah. And that should work. And then additionally, okay, no. These need to go 1 tick that away, I believe. Yeah. Okay, that gets started much faster. And then 6, it can drop off right there, I believe. And then we want these to rotate right there. All right. That removed a ton of unneeded delay. All right. We need 1 tick of delay here at the end so that arm 4 doesn't grab the thing as it's released. I think. Yep. Except we also need to put... Yeah, okay. That worked out perfectly actually, because we do need to rotate 1 more time after that I forgot about. Okay. For as inefficiently as this thing is building this, it's actually not that inefficient. And if I could parallelize these 2 steps, which would be non-trivial, it would actually work pretty well. But it would be non-trivial to parallelize those steps. I believe I understand now. Rather than breaking the laws of alchemy, the glyph of proliferation actually siphons metal around it to perform its seemingly impossible trick. Oops. Well, he doesn't seem like a very nice guy. Anyway, pattern metal. What is this monstrosity? Could we not? Our reagent is a single quicksilver. Okay. Well, the center bit's relatively easy. It's alternating quicksilver and tin. It's the rest of it that is interesting. And that is alternating silver, tin, copper, quicksilver. Silver, tin, copper, quicksilver. So it's not that bad, I suppose. We have to do this all with a single quicksilver reagent. Which means... we can weld the center up there. Of course, getting the metal over here is a bit of a pain in the butt. And we need to get not just metal, we also need to get quicksilver over here. If I had like 4 or 5 starting quicksilvers, that would be really easy. The fact that they're giving us like Glyph of Division, stuff like that, is a bit suspicious. I suspect that we are expected to make some sort of pattern of metal that then gets split to produce some of these. Okay, so like copper, to get a quicksilver out of a copper, we do have Glyph of Rejection. So if we had a silver, we could turn that into a copper. So let's do a little bit of quick testing here. All right. Grab rotate, release, and then 3, grab, rotate twice, and release. I'm purely trying to test what metals I get out of splitting a silver. I get an iron and a tin. Okay. Are iron or tin useful to this? No, they are not. Tin is. Well, we can crank tin out by the millions. Just using this thing. The iron is not useful. What happens if I split gold? I don't remember what the results that gives. That gives 2 irons. Okay, well that's even less useful. What happens if I split a copper? That gives 2 tins. Okay. That's not useful either. So I don't think I want to do any splitting then. But wait, what did splitting silver give us again? Gave us an iron and a tin. And splitting copper gave us 2 tins, I believe. Yes. No. I don't see this as useful to me right now. Like, I could turn iron into tin easily enough. I don't have the glyph of projection, so we can't upgrade metals. The glyph of division is assuredly useful for something, but I don't see what it's for right now. It is not immediately obvious what it would be good for. Okay, so here we have a thing that can weld the outer layer on. The problem is this is in no way, shape, or form going to let us weld past the outer layer. So we'll have to swing that probably over to here to weld that. Or maybe over to here. Well, let's get the outer layer welded first, and then I will worry about going beyond that later. Okay. So we're going to want tin for the duration. Okay. Actually, no, we want gold to start with. All right. Let's do this. Arm 4. Grab. Arm 4 should absolutely be a rotary arm. Grab, drop. At which point, arm 3 should grab, rotate, move down the track, reset. At which point, arm 2 should grab, and then we can get started properly. Now, arm 1 needs to rotate twice after arm 4 drops. Okay. And then arm 5. When arm 2 grabs, arm 5 should also grab. A little before it, actually. Rotate up and reset. You can do that like so. And then arm 3 needs to grab, rotate up, and reset. Actually, arm 4 needs to do that just before. It looks like this timing will actually work out perfectly. Okay, and then arm 2, you need to rotate when arm 5 drops. And then you need to rotate again when arm 3 drops. Wait, I put those in the wrong ones. There we go. Okay, and then we need to repeat this sequence a few more times. Arm 5, you need to start moving there. And arm 4, you need to start moving there. And arm 3, you can't use a repeat instruction because sucks be me. I think we need to do that sequence again one more time. Of course, I forgot to put in the rotate instructions. Okay. We now have the core. Now we have to weld shit onto the outside of that core. A lot of very weird shit. And actually, I think I can use the same welding setup. I just need to move arm 2 forward down that track. And that'll allow us to weld the radial pieces on. Good luck with the rest of them, though. Okay, so the radials are, once again, the same exact pattern. Quite literally, exactly the same pattern. So, we don't need to change anything about arm 1. We just need to duplicate all of this exactly. Could I move arm 4 in one? No. Okay. Now, we need to move like that, actually. Alright. Now, onto the end of every salt gets welded a tin. Onto the end of every tin gets welded a salt. So, if we just keep repeating this exact point, this exact pattern, we need 3 more repeats. Like so. And then, alas, this one can't use repeats because the game sucks sometimes. I really wish I could bundle up packets of instructions as like functions or something. Okay, and then we need to put in rotate instructions every little bit. That probably isn't quite right, but alright, that rotate instruction there is bad. Okay, we have the outer pinwheel done. Now, we have to weld alternating copper and silver into every one of these gaps. And I think I can do that. No. Well, yeah, no. I'd really like to be able to just do it right here with a different welding glyph. I can't. I wish there was another glyph of multi-bonding that was just a triangle, but alas, there is not. Okay, I could do that. It would not have the right welds, but then I could rotate it up to here and unweld it in a creative manner that would result in it working. So I think we're going to do that. First of all, though, we need to do alternating silver and copper. So we need to rotate twice more on arm 1. And then we need to do this whole sequence again, except without arm 5 doing anything. Arm 5 is done. So it's just arm 4 and arm 3, which means we can do this much more tightly. And additionally, we're going to have to do some more juggling on arm 3. Which is going to greatly lengthen this process. So arm 4, grab, rotate, drop, and then you got to go like that. And then arm 4 can go again. And then we got to repeat this whole stupid sequence, and we can't copy and paste it, because why would copy and paste work? That would be a rational decision to have added that. Okay. And then we want to rotate this when it resets. And remember, we're welding this incorrectly, more or less on purpose, because it will get the atom into the correct position just with the wrong welds, and then we can rotate it later and replace the welds. Okay, so let's do just a few of those to test that it's going to give us the correct sequencing. Okay. So that should actually be a silver. All right. So we'd rotate 3 times. And then there's also nothing that says that this has to be way out here like this. Okay, we got our copper. And then our silver. And then we need to remember that this has to be rotated back. And then forth. And then back. Okay. All right. Let me run this sequence again because I wasn't paying quite close enough attention to the exact. Like I know it didn't. It rotated to put 2 coppers in. So either it didn't rotate or it was rotated wrong. Okay, now we're at copper. Now we're at silver. Okay, what happened is 4 moved a little too early. So we need to add a little tiny bit of delay there. Because we need to drop. The drop instruction on 4 has to be after this last rotation. Which actually we don't have to do that. We can move all this forward 1 more. We just have to move these forward a little bit. As long as all those rotations happen between the last drop of 4 and the next drop of 4, we're good. Alright, this should be correct now. Silver, copper, silver. All right. So, attach silver, attach copper, attach silver. We just need to keep repeating this process 3 more times. I really wish I could just copy and paste this whole block, but alas. Control C, Control V, what are they? I mean, that's what the repeat instruction is supposed to be for, but the repeat instruction doesn't work when it's in the middle of long, complex sequences. It only works when you want to repeat a small sequence over and over and over and over and over again. Which, sure, that's cool and all, but... Alright, we need another one of these out here in the end because ARM 4 comes before all of this. All right. So after that's done, then ARM 2 instead of doing this last rotation, ARM 2 should rotate up and out of the way. And then I think I want to just straight up reset ARM 1. And then I just want to see what it looks like so I can start thinking about where I need to put in the unwelding stuff. So I think what we need to do is we need to just sit here and spin it through a sequence that will make all the welds we need to make. And then we need to rotate it again and spin it through another sequence that'll unweld the parts we want. Okay. So that'll make some of the welds we need to make. And then the other bit we need to make is right there. Yeah. But this will result in a bunch of welds we don't want. In addition to the welds we do want. And then we'll have to break all of those welds again, which I think we should be able to do just by vibrating up and down on the track while we rotate it over here somewhere. We'll see. For now, we want to rotate into place with 2, and then we just want to spin it probably 6 times. And then we want to rotate it again. Okay. Well, actually, no, it didn't make any unwelds I didn't need, except the ones that were already there. Okay, so this will be way easier to unweld than I thought. Okay, so we need to unweld the welds that are from right there. And then I think we can just rotate it. I don't think we have to move on the track at all. Actually. Okay. And then we'll rotate down again and put this into the right place. This is another place where I really, really, really wish I could just copy and paste, but alas. That is not allowed. I suppose I could just use the hotkeys. That'd be a little faster. Alright, then I want to see where that ends up so I don't have to guess. There's almost certainly a much more efficient way to do this. Okay. Now, this is where I realize that this is all hideously wrong. Okay, the core is correct. But all the metals that we welded around the outside are wrong. Why do we have an iron? Why do we have a tin? Clearly we're moving... Oh, I see what the problem is. That one's reversed. And I just did it again, too. Are any of the rest of these reversed? Okay, we rotate that way. Rotate back. Back. Okay, now that all looks correct. Okay, then we drop. And then we rotate twice more? No. Instead of dropping, we just reset, because we need to go back to the beginning anyway. Alright, let's see how badly this works. I'm willing to bet that there's probably going to need to be a little bit of delay instituted somewhere to make sure it doesn't start too quickly. But maybe not. Okay, apparently not. Hell yeah. The last bit where it welds and unwelds it is really cool, actually. And all that with only 5 arms. We could actually use a double arm to save ourselves a little bit of reset time. Because then instead of needing that reset, we just drop and retract back down the track. Arm 3 is definitely the #1 place where we could make improvements here. Because all those track moves on Arm 3 is a bit of a problem. You might be better off designing it so that Arm 3 does track moves when it's operating together with 5 and does not make your track moves when it's operating by itself. Good night, survey. I'm going to end after this puzzle anyway, so... Yeah, if I made Arm 3, so I did track moves when it was operating with Arm 5 and didn't do track moves otherwise, it would be a lot more efficient because Arm 5... what do I call it? Arm 5 would help mask some of the extra cycles there. And then we could move Arm 3 faster when it's operating by itself. Alright, so apparently we destroyed the building by using the machine to melt all the metal. And that's the end of the DLC, actually. Okay. Well, well, well. I did not think I was going to finish it today. Particularly after spending an actual shit ton of time on a couple of those puzzles. Okay, that last puzzle, I don't know what to think of my solution to it. I kind of really liked some parts of it because it was cool to watch, but also, yeah. If we still had more time, I would definitely go back and try to make the improvements I identified, where I could have caused Arm 5 and Arm 3 to interleave more efficiently if I moved some things around. It might be really hard to move those things around, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we've finished all the story puzzles for the DLC and the main game. As far as I know, for the main game, what's left is a bunch of these limited space puzzles, which I don't like. Yeah, they can be sometimes interesting, but I don't like them as much as I do the ones where I can just build giant, crazy machines. And then, of course, there's a whole load of puzzles in the Journal of Alchemical Engineering. Literally bazillions of them. Some of them much more difficult than others, it looks like. Looks like a lot of them are very difficult. And what the hell is that? Balanced gold. There's no way that's as simple as just outputting a single gold. Whatever you're receiving as inputs for that is probably insane. Also, look at this one. Inductive foil. It looks like a bunch of rings welded together with a few gold atoms here and there. Well, yeah, the rings are overlapping. But if you made like one of these rings, one of those, you could make 3 rings, I guess, and then you could weld them all around a center air or water or whatever that is. And add 3 goals on the outside. I don't even want to think about that one, though. Yeah. A lot of these are... they look insane. Anyway. This was fun. I like it. I think I'm done with it, though. I've got too many other games to play that are also fun. But that means the midweek slot is free again. I guess we'll have to pick something out of the pile. We do have a whole lot of them to burn through. I'll just have to decide what in the giant pile of games is best suited for the midweek slot. There's plenty of options. But anyway, I don't have to worry about it right away because tomorrow is Thursday. And Thursday means we'll be doing some Zoo Tycoon. Zoo Tycoon 1, to be specific. See if we can continue through the base game scenarios. get a little closer to unlocking the mystery animals. Friday, of course, will be some EDF. And then, let's see, what is the weekend right now? Red Solstice. And if we finish Red Solstice, then not entirely sure. There's a couple of options. But anyway. Monday, of course, will be Crab. And then next Tuesday and Wednesday will be something new. Probably literally something new, considering I have a bunch of new games I've never played that I need to play. And I tend to prefer to have repeat Library Denzians as weekend games, not midweek games most of the time. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but most of the time when I want to play a game that I've played before, it tends to be a long-winded kind of game. Kind of a fan of games that have lots of content to them, I suppose you could say. Oh well. That is all for later. For tonight, let's see. It looks like Abby's playing MechWarrior. Okay. Sure, why not? Yeah, let's raid Abby. I did kind of enjoy playing MechWarrior. The problem is I really don't like all of the stuff surrounding the actual missions. The missions are fun, stumping around, shooting crap, and stuff like that. I just don't like the bullshit of running the mercenary company. Because you always get your damn mechs blown up. Half the time because the AI is retarded. And then you have to wait forever and pay a ton of money to get them back up and running so you can do the next mission that barely makes you any money. I'd probably be more fun in multiplayer, but also at least that way the AI wouldn't be getting your mechs destroyed. But also, I don't really want to do that. I don't know. It's a mechanically fun game that I don't really like. Hopefully, I'll see you all back here tomorrow for zoo shenaniganry. And I will see you all later. Good night and goodbye.